My niece sent me her birthday list, $1000 laptop, iPhone 16 and $500 cash. I replied, "You'll get a sweater." My brother responded, "Then don't show up." I smiled and texted back, "Perfect. Now you can figure out rent and car insurance without me." 3 minutes later, 19 missed calls. The message came in while I was microwaving leftover pasta at work. Just a photo, no text. At first I thought it was spam. Pink background, glittery pen hearts, and stars drawn all over the page like it came from a 12-year-old's diary. Except it wasn't. It was from my 17-year-old niece, Kayla. At the top of the page in huge letters, Kayla's birthday list. 2 hearts, sparkles, money with wings. I kept reading. MacBook Air M3, $1,099. iPhone 16 Pro, $1,199. $500 in cash. $200 Sephora gift card. Lululemon leggings. Dior lip oil. A big surprise gift. A designer bag, if not too much trouble. No hi, no please, not even a joke. Just a checklist like I was her personal ATM. And this wasn't the first time. Not even close. I scrolled up through our last few conversations. All one-sided. Requests, links to expensive stuff, Cash App tags. Not even a thank you after I Venmo'd her $150 a few months back when she said she needed emergency money for school books. Later I saw her on Instagram with a new pair of Jordans. I didn't reply right away. I took a walk around the block to cool off. But honestly, it didn't help. What made it worse was knowing why she felt so comfortable sending that list. It wasn't her fault entirely. It was Nate, my older brother, Kayla's dad. For years I've been bailing him out. Ever since his small business tanked and Tracy's job cut her hours, they've been in a tight spot. That was 5 years ago. I covered their electric bills, paid off their car note, fronted them rent more than once, and even paid for Kayla's braces and her Sweet 16 party last year when they couldn't swing it. Thought I was being helpful, supportive, but they never got back on their feet. They got comfortable. I texted back finally, "You'll get a sweater." 1 minute later Nate responded, "Then don't show up." No context. No emoji. Just that. Like I was a burden for not dropping $2,000 on his daughter's birthday. I read it 3 times. I didn't feel hurt. I didn't feel shocked. I felt calm. Almost relieved. I took a deep breath and texted back, "Perfect. Now you can figure out rent and car insurance without me." I put my phone down and went back to my pasta. 3 minutes later it buzzed off the table. I looked down. 19 missed calls. 13 from Nate. 4 from Tracy. 2 from Kayla. I didn't answer a single one. I knew this moment was coming. I'd been tiptoeing around it for years, hoping they'd change. Hoping they'd see how much I was doing and start pulling their weight. But this time they went too far. They told me not to come. So I took that seriously. What they didn't know yet was that I hadn't just cut them off that day. I had been preparing for this. Quietly. Patiently. Because when someone thinks you'll always be there, the best revenge isn't yelling or fighting. It's disappearing completely, and taking everything they relied on with you. And that was just the beginning. I didn't answer the calls. I didn't even open the texts. I went home, poured a glass of wine, and sat down at my desk. I opened my spreadsheet. Yeah, I kept track. Every single bill I'd ever paid for them, every wire transfer, every online payment. I even had the passwords to 3 of their accounts. Not because I hacked anything, because they gave them to me and never changed them. That night, I logged into Nate's utility account and removed my autopay. They were 2 days away from the due date. I left it. Then I canceled the automatic transfer I had set up every month for $900. The amount I'd been sending quietly to help them stay afloat. They thought it came from some emergency assistance program I helped them apply to. It didn't. It was me. For the last 8 months straight. Gone. Next, I called the insurance company and took my name off their policy. Their car was insured under my account. Stupid, I know. I did it to help get them a lower rate. When the agent asked if I was sure, I said yes without hesitation. No one questioned it. It was mine to begin with. Then came the big one, the apartment. When Nate lost his job last year, I co-signed for their lease. It was the only way they got approved. I paid the deposit. Even negotiated with the landlord when they were 2 weeks late in July. Now, I wrote a formal letter to the landlord explaining I would not be renewing the co-sign next term. I sent it certified. At this point you might think I was being cruel. But let me be clear, I gave them years of support. They didn't slip. They sank themselves. And they dragged me down with them until I cut the rope. The next morning I woke up to 42 unread messages. One of them was a voice memo from Kayla. I didn't open it, but the caption read, "You literally ruined my birthday." That's when I remembered something. I still had the party invite in my inbox. Big backyard barbecue, catered food, Kayla's friends coming from 2 different states. A $2,000 deposit at the venue under my name. I called the event planner. Canceled the whole thing. They were outside the refund window. Non-refundable. I sat with that for a second. They were counting on me to pay the rest even though they never said it out loud. I knew Nate. He always assumed I'd come through. He thought I'd get mad for a few days then show up like always. Not this time. That afternoon Tracy called me from a different number. I answered without thinking. She didn't even say hello. Just jumped right in. "You're being ridiculous. Kayla is 17. You're punishing a kid." I hung up. I didn't say a word. 10 minutes later, Nate showed up at my apartment. He started banging on the door, yelling through the hallway about how I was heartless, how he would have figured it out eventually, and how I was abandoning family. I didn't open the door. I stood there watching through the peephole while my own brother, the man I had bailed out more times than I could count, acted like I was the one who betrayed him. Eventually he left. That night I got another text. It was a photo. Their car, being towed. No caption. I didn't respond. They thought this was the worst of it. They had no idea what was coming next. 3 days after the birthday list drama, I got an email from Nate's employer. Not directly, it was one of those generic HR emails. Reference check. He'd applied for a new job. I sat there for a minute just staring at it. I knew the company. A mid-sized construction firm out of town. Decent pay. Full benefits. The kind of job he used to have before he spiraled. I wasn't surprised he put me down as a reference. I was surprised he didn't think I'd notice. Or maybe he thought I'd just nod along like always. The form had a section at the bottom. "Would you recommend this candidate for rehire?" And a box for additional comments. I didn't lie. I told them he had a history of unreliability. Missed deadlines. Ongoing personal issues that interfered with his responsibilities. I included documentation. Screenshots of him texting me about skipping work, needing money to pay fines, and how he left his last job without notice. I hit send. It wasn't revenge. It was honesty. For once. A few hours later I got another message. This time from Kayla. It was just one sentence. "You don't care about us at all." Still no apology. Not even an ounce of self-awareness. I didn't reply. The next day Nate called again. I let it ring. Then Tracy. Then Kayla. Finally Tracy left a voicemail. I listened to it. He was crying. Said the landlord sent them a notice. That without my cosign they couldn't renew the lease. Rent was increasing. They were already behind and they had no way to catch up. Said Nate didn't get the job. Asked if we could talk this out. But they weren't sorry. They were cornered. There's a difference. I didn't call back. Instead, I packed a small bag, turned off my phone, and drove to a friend's cabin upstate. No Wi-Fi. No service. Just quiet. When I got back 3 days later, I had 73 missed calls, 2 voicemails marked urgent, and 1 unexpected letter in the mail. It was from Kayla. Typed. Folded neatly. No envelope, just shoved into my mailbox. It said, "I hope you're happy. You ruined everything." No signature. That week my parents called. I hadn't spoken to them in over a year. Long story short, they took Nate's side in an old argument over money. I let the call go to voicemail. Then my mom texted, "What did you do to your brother?" Interesting how nobody ever asked what he did to me. I ignored it. By the end of the week, I heard through a mutual friend that their internet got cut off. Then the water. Then the car insurance expired. Then their car got impounded again. This time for expired tags and unpaid tickets. It was only a matter of time now. They were slipping. And for the first time in years I wasn't there to catch them. By the second week, the silence on their end started to shift. Not actual silence. The calls and messages kept coming. But the tone changed. No more guilt trips. No more angry texts. Now it was desperation. Tracy sent a message that said, "Kayla hasn't eaten since yesterday." Are you seriously going to let this happen? Nate left a voicemail saying he was going to lose everything if I didn't just call him back. He even said he was willing to discuss boundaries, like this was a group therapy session and not years of him bleeding me dry. I didn't answer. Then came the one that almost got me. It was a photo. Kayla sitting on their apartment floor. No furniture in sight. A suitcase beside her. Caption, "We have to be out by Friday." I stared at it for a long time. And I'll be honest, part of me cracked. Just a little. It's hard to see someone you watched grow up like that. But I reminded myself they chose this. They chose to treat me like a credit card, not a person. Like I owed them something just for existing. Every chance they had to say thank you to show they cared, they skipped it. And now, when the consequences finally arrived, they expected me to hit undo. I didn't. Friday came and went. That night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was short. "We're staying at Mom and Dad's. Hope you're satisfied. Nate." That was the first time he'd said anything resembling defeat. I didn't reply. But now that he was staying with our parents, the same ones who used to call me too serious when I voiced concerns about bailing him out, things started to spread. Within days, my mom called me again. This time she left a voicemail that sounded more panicked than judgmental. "He's brought all that chaos into our home. It's constant yelling, Kayla is acting out, Tracy barely leaves the bedroom, and Nate just keeps talking about how you destroyed his life. You need to fix this." Well, I didn't. They had spent years watching me enable him. And now that it wasn't convenient anymore, now they wanted to step in? Not my problem. Then I got the job offer. Remote. Higher pay. Out-of-state company. A clean break. I accepted it immediately. And I made sure not to tell anyone. If they wanted access to me, they'd have to work a lot harder than just sending guilt trap text. I changed my number 2 days later. But I wasn't done yet. There was one more loose end. Something I hadn't touched yet. Something I knew Nate had forgotten about completely. The joint savings account. I'd opened it 2 years ago, in both our names, when he swore he wanted to turn things around. I agreed to match every dollar he put in under one condition. We'd use it only for emergencies or for Kayla's college tuition. Guess how much he ever added? 0. Guess how much I had? Almost $12,000. He forgot it existed. I didn't. I transferred every cent into a new account under my name alone and closed the joint account the same day. The next morning, my old number, now disconnected, would have gotten another call. From the bank. Letting him know the account was empty. I almost wished I could see his face when he heard it. 2 weeks after I closed the account, I got an email. Not a text. Not a call. An actual email from Tracy. The subject line was, "Please read this. I'm begging you." I hovered over it for a few seconds. I hadn't heard from her since the message about Kayla not eating. I thought about deleting it without opening, but I clicked. It was long. Almost 3 pages. No punctuation in half of it, emotional and rushed. She said Nate hadn't been the same since they got kicked out. That he was snapping at everyone, blaming her, blaming Kayla, blaming the world. He spent most of the day in the basement of my parents' house, barely speaking to anyone. Tracy wrote that Kayla had stopped going to school. Said she refused to talk to them and spent all her time locked in a room, scrolling, sleeping, scrolling again. Tracy said she was trying to find a job, but they only had one working car, which Nate was using, and she didn't even have money for bus fare. Then came the ask. She didn't want money. She wanted me to talk to him. She said he still believed I would come back. That I was just making a point. That I'd cool off and everything would go back to normal, like it always did. And I think that's what broke something in me for good. Because he still didn't understand. Even now. Living in his childhood bedroom at age 39. Living off my parents. With his wife and kid in the next room. He still thought I'd come clean up the mess. I didn't reply. I forwarded the email to a folder called Proof and archived it. A week later, I heard from one of my old neighbors. Someone who lived near Nate's old place. He sent me a photo. Nate and Tracy's stuff was out on the curb. Furniture boxes, old toys. She said the landlord had tossed what was left after they missed the deadline to clear out the unit. He thought I should know. I thanked her. That was it. Then came the job loss. I didn't know right away. But about a month after I pulled out the savings, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The message was from a woman named Melinda. HR manager at the warehouse where Nate had picked up some part-time work. Apparently, I was still listed as an emergency contact. She said he'd been let go. He was a no-call, no-show for 3 shifts in a row. When someone finally checked on him, he told them he was done pretending any of this was worth it. Whatever that meant. She was calling to see if someone could pick up his final check. I didn't call back. That same week, my mom called me 5 times. Then she texted, "This is your brother. How far are you going to take this?" She didn't know the half of it. What she didn't see, what none of them saw, was that I wasn't taking it anywhere. I was done. All I did was step away and let gravity do the rest. No more payments. No more favors. No more second chances. They collapsed on their own. I just stopped holding them up. But it wasn't over yet. Because just when I thought they had nothing left to lose, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From Kayla. The envelope had no return address. I recognized the handwriting right away. Big rounded letters, bubble style, same as the birthday list that started it all. The letter was folded twice, a little messy, like she'd stuffed it into her pocket for a while before deciding to send it. I sat down before opening it. I don't know why. Part of me expected more of the same. Blame, manipulation, guilt. But the first few lines stopped me cold. "I know I'm not the person you wanted me to be. I know you probably hate me now." It went on. No emojis. No demands. Just honesty, or at least something that looked like it. She wrote that she'd overheard everything. That she heard Tracy crying in the bathroom the night they lost the apartment. That she saw Nate screaming in the garage after the car got taken away again. That she knew exactly what he'd done, not just this year but for years. The lies. The handouts. The manipulation. She said she didn't know I had paid for her braces. Or her party. Or that the rent money came from me. She said they told her it was from programs or friends helping out. That all they ever said about me was that I owed them. Then she wrote something I didn't expect. "He says you turned on us. But I think you just stopped saving us." I kept reading. He said she was sorry. Not just for the list. For everything. For being blind. For copying their attitude and thinking I was just there, like a background character in their lives. He said she missed me. That she didn't want anything anymore. Just maybe a second chance. Not to get stuff. Just to learn how to live without expecting it. And then one more line, scrawled at the very bottom in smaller writing. "I want to be different from them. Please don't give up on me too." I sat with that for a while. She didn't ask me to come back. Didn't ask for $1. Just recognition. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I felt something that wasn't rage or bitterness. I felt the quiet kind of sadness you only get when you realize someone might have grown up too late. But maybe, just maybe, not all the way too late. I didn't respond right away. I let it sit. But I didn't throw it out either. It's still in my drawer. Because as much as I closed the door on Nate and Tracy, I'm not sure I'm ready to lock it on Kayla. Not yet. Let them live with my parents. Let them burn through every bridge they've got left. Me. I'm gone. I took the job, moved across the country and started fresh. A clean apartment. A quiet phone. No more emergency calls. No more guilt texts. Just silence. And sometimes when it gets really quiet, I open that letter again. Just to remind myself that walking away was never about being cruel. It was about seeing who really wanted to change. And who never would.